Good afternoon. Just getting ready for a little tour of the garden here. So, the past few days, today is Sunday, May 24th, and we had a boatload of rain, and it was almost like winter temperatures. So, all of these gardens went inside because the lows were like zero, and there was even sleet on Friday morning, which was, pretty bad. But so that's one nice thing about your containers or your bucket gardens is you can just pick them up and move them when you need to into the garage or whatever. So they're still looking pretty good though after 3 nights in the garage. Everything came back out this morning. And finally, these ones are starting to grow. I'm not sure why. So this year, instead of getting new potting soil for everything, I just used what was still viable from last year and added compost to it and fluffed it up and used it again. So, not sure if that's what's contributing to the slow growth or if it's just because we haven't really had really hot temperatures, but it's a little bit slow. This lettuce was planted like mid-April, about a third of the way through the month, and it's still really tiny. So we'll see. Hopefully everything will catch up with some heat and some nice days. There's another lettuce pail, and these were planted earlier in May, these carrots. So for that time, I think they're doing okay. Still pretty tiny. The chives there are looking good. So there's some new growth here from seed, so that came up quickly. So they like that soil, and that's a plant from 2018 that's been in that container the whole time. And then there's some little spinach seeds coming up there. Spinach is, I believe, a longer crop to grow, so not much surprise there that that's taking a while. But I'm really happy with the sweet peas here. Look at the height on these guys. They're what, 3-4 inches now? Something like that. Yep. So they look really good, and hopefully they'll start grabbing onto their trellis here right away and grow. But I haven't grown sweet peas successfully for over 20 years probably, so that'll be nice to get some blossoms on there. And these are the peas, so they've sprouted quite a bit. They've grown, they've all come up since then, so that's exciting. Mr. Onion is still doing okay. That's Booker in the background, by the way. That's the neighbor's dog. He thinks my cats are outside, but I think he's mistaken. All right, let's go over here now. So here's some summer squash that were started from seed inside. They're doing well. So I started them in, I think it was egg cartons. And I think next year I would do the bigger plants in something like maybe a toilet paper roll cut in half to start it, because they grew quite quickly and became root bound quickly, and then they were a little bit difficult to get out of those pods, but they're doing okay. It seems to be, actually this side here is cucumber. I remember because there's that one tiny little guy there that gotta catch up, but these are cucumber, and then these are the summer squash over here, so they're doing all right. Then over here we started some other tomatoes from seed. I don't know what happened here, but they're like, honey, I shrunk the tomato, you know what I mean? Like, they're so tiny. So this guy here is starting to get some adult leaves, but again, they're so small. So these were started inside. So I'm kind of wondering, this year we did not have a heating pad on them, so maybe the room was just too cool to really get some good growth happening there. But I don't know. I'm going to leave them. I don't see a lot of hope, but we've got some random plant growing here. I don't know what that is, so we'll let that grow and see what that is later. This is another set of tomatoes from seed. They've gotten quite a bit bigger. They're still pretty tiny for this time of year, but I think they'll catch up, so got some hope there. Then there was some random lavender and columbine and stuff, and yeah, absolutely nothing happened there in that lavender, and that's like a good 6 weeks now, so very, very little growth there. So not sure what happened there. It was a bit late to start lavender, but that's how it went. These guys are some hot peppers. So in 2018 I bought a hot pepper plant at, I don't know, Lowe's or somewhere, and it was hot, and so we had a hot pepper challenge on the deck, and I think I won, but I needed a big glass of milk after. So I had some seeds that I'd forgotten about, so I thought I'd start them, see what happens. So they're pretty tiny, but they do look healthy, so hopefully they'll catch up. by the end of summer, there might be a pepper or two there. Here's some oregano, which in retrospect probably should have just gone into a pot because these are some tiny little plants. I'm not sure about how to transplant those, but we'll see. And there's thyme there. Same thing. Thyme is a crawling plant, so again, it might have just been to our advantage just to start it right away in the container, but that's how it went. Now these tomatoes here are from Salisbury Greenhouse, just east of the city in Sherwood Park, and they've grown really well. So they were a 3.5-inch plant when purchased the day before Mother's Day, so a couple weeks ago now, and then repotted into these guys, and in the past week they've really grown because they were planted just to the leaves on top, so they were actually quite tiny when they went into the yogurt containers, and now they're really tall. They're like, what, 8 inches or so? So these are going to do really nicely. I have to check though which of these are indeterminate and determinate, because putting an indeterminate into even a large pot I think will inhibit the growth and it just won't get as big as it could. So some will go in the ground, and the smaller ones or any determinate varieties I think I'm going to put in the containers. All right, so last 2 stops here. Here's a hot pile that I showed you last week. This is since 18, so it's been turned probably 3 or 4 times. It doesn't look a whole lot different. It has shrunk. It does look taller this week because I took all the area off the side here and moved it on top just for ease of turning. But there is, I think, some stuff happening underneath. There's a good amount of soil underneath too, like just regular garden soil and pots and stuff. So it's nice and fluffy. It's gotten a lot of rain. I think I'm going to water it again today, but there is less in there of the kitchen waste than last week. Also, the odor has really gone down a lot, so the addition of all the extra browns really helped that out a lot. And last here is this area, which, well, you can see pretty much nothing, but I put some onions here just before it started raining really all week. So that was, I think, last Monday or Tuesday evening. And there's just one guy coming up here so far. So I think over this week we're expecting some more sunny days and some heat. We should see a bit more growth there. So I put onions here, and then at the back section here, and this area, and at the front of the bed. I'm waiting, well, for a day like today because it was about to get really cold, so I brought my cukes and summer squash inside to stay warm, but that's where those guys are going to go. So that's the garden check-in for May 24th, and yeah, post again in a week and see what's happening then. Take care. Have a great week.